Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's People to People with Rodney Grimes. And as you know, I do have my co-host, Miss Kimmy Kim, that's in on Motivation Monday. But due to a family situation, she had to be with her family. So we will see Kimmy Kim hopefully next Monday. And actually even with myself. So, but we'll keep you abreast of what's going on. So before I get started, I want to make it very clear that some things are going on in our family. As some of you know, that I just lost my mother-in-law, and I appreciate all the gifts and the calls and the prayers and support for me and my wife and the family. We appreciate it so much, and this is going to be a journey for us. But as you know, what we do is we stay focused and we keep God first and stay positive. People to people, power to power, positive thinking people. So I'm not even going to prolong this and go into a lot because I got a gentleman here that I'm so excited to have here at the platform, and that's Dr. Bob. But it's Robert Johnson.
Yes.
But we call him Dr. Bob.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct.
Welcome,
Yes.
sir. Welcome.
I'm very happy to be here with you.
I am so glad. Once we met, we was at a networking event, and I had that opportunity to speak with you and find out that you had information that you could share that kind of help people get to, on the right track of health-wise and just dealing with different things, especially with this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And you agreed to come on the program. I was so thankful. So I want to say thank you again.
Well, my pleasure, and it's always very enjoyable for me to share health information because, as you know, health is probably one of our most important resources we have. And when I can give people information that they can make better health decisions for themselves, that gives me a lot of joy. And I really like working with people like that.
That is so good. So can you just tell a little bit about yourself as far as being in the health business? What kind of got you in that direction?
Okay. Well, I really do have a very eclectic background. My professional training is one of a dentist. I evolved into a biologic dentist, meaning that how does dentistry affect overall health, and how does overall health affect the health of the mouth and the oral cavity and so forth. But I also had this very big interest and like to work with people in relationship to their health. Now, simultaneous to my background and my professional training is also I have a naturopathic training as well as training in integrative medicine. But I've really worked with people around the world, the best healers and researchers and doctors and so forth. So I really have a lot of very good information that is very pertinent to people's overall health. Now, simultaneous with that, I was a national class runner and was in the Olympic trials and the marathon. Did a couple of Ironman triathlons, and so competition, athletics, optimal performance was also in my background and in my heart. And so combining optimal health and performance with my professional training evolved me to the point of really working with not only companies but individuals and organizations to help them become much healthier and deal with things like the pandemic, which are has been here for a long time and may be here for quite a bit longer.
That pandemic, did it really affect you in a way that being in the medical field, that it affect you in a way that you felt a serious obligation to letting people know how to deal with it?
Well, very interesting you asked that because if you remember about a year and a half, something like that ago, it came into prominence, and we really don't know, we still don't know how it originated, the virus and so forth. And in my studies and working with people, I think it came onto these shores a few months earlier than they said, like February of, 2019?
19, right,
yeah.
yes.
And so I kind of knew early on that something was amiss, and people just weren't getting healthy. And they said, well, I had the flu, but they didn't get any better. And so I started doing a lot of research, and there was a lot of misinformation and so forth. So had to, in real time, I had to really put the pieces together and start contacting the people that I knew were the top researchers and doctors and healers in the world to say, tell me about this, and give me the information. And so in this day and age, I really do have a total program, whether you get vaccination or not, and how to make sure that people do get healthy, stay healthy, and or at the worst, minimize any infection they may get.
Right. So just on a dealing with different individuals, do you recommend that they get the vaccination?
Well, as I say, and unfortunately, the vaccination issue is not only a health issue and a prevention and so forth, but it's also become quite a political issue.
Right.
And that's unfortunate because politics should not enter into getting people healthy, but it has. And so having that extra variable in there is very important to deal with. Now, as in terms of your question, should people get vaccinated? I tell them that vaccinations, or the COVID, which there are 3 now, and they're wondering whether they should get boosters and so forth, are really just one tool in how to keep people healthy. It's not just vaccinate or not, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's should they do other things in addition? And the programs I have developed really do add to one's immunity or prevention. And it's much more than just masks and much more than just social distancing. It really is how to boost your immune system, how to make sure viruses don't enter the body, how to kill viruses if they're in the body so they don't become a real health challenge for many people. And one thing that's important to understand is that the people who really suffer the most when they get the COVID-19 and the variable, the biggest thing is if they have health challenges.
Right.
Things like sugar dysfunction, like diabetes, or obesity, or blood pressure problems. Those kind of things create an environment in a person's body that makes them much more susceptible to getting COVID, whether you get the vaccine or not. And in fact, this is a very important point as far as the vaccine, is that when you get vaccinated, you can still get the infection, and you can still transmit it to others.
Right.
So like I say, vaccinations are just one tool, an important tool, and the research has shown that they are effective, but I think that people should be doing a lot more than just vaccinating or not.
Right. So, because basically a lot of people whom I know who's had the COVID, and I believe I had it before because prior to them announcing it, I had got real sick in 2018 around November.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had got really sick, and I had never felt it like that, and I'm very healthy,
Mm-hmm.
guy. But when I went to the doctor told me I had flu-like symptoms, but it wasn't the flu.
Yes.
So he couldn't even tell me what it was.
And they didn't know at that time either. They really didn't. And in fact, you probably did have it. Like I said, it came into the U.S. Months earlier than they give it credit for.
Right. And so, and what happened is, at that time, my wife, who was attending to me, she became very ill.
Mm-hmm.
The gentleman who we was on a men's retreat, a very, very good dear friend of mine, he became ill, and then his wife became ill.
Mm.
So, and then, because even with me staying at home and nurturing myself, I kind of have a tendency to move a little bit too fast, and I went back to work. And then one of my coworkers got it, and then another coworker,
Wow.
and we was just I mean, and
Passing
I'm
it back and
we was
forth.
you know the thing. I'm not going to say that I was the initial carrier, but I can say that I know that in that arena at that time, I was the one that I remember that became sick 1st, and it was really something. But what a lot of people are now starting to understand, it's really really important for you to pay attention to your immune system.
Absolutely. And in fact, one thing that I would recommend it for you to kind of validate one way or the other, because if it was COVID, you indeed have a certain immunity, not total immunity, but you have a certain immunity to that. So you might want to get a test that checks your antibodies for it. And that would indeed tell you if you've had it or not.
Oh, okay, because actually, now I've been tested over and over, and especially, I mean, I've gotten the shot. So I went on and got the shots. But on several different occasions, being in the government, and we had different people that supposedly came in contact with somebody. So when they tell us, what we would do is go get tested, and I came back negative. But so you're saying that I actually can get a test that be able to tell whether I actually had it.
Yes, because you develop what's called, this is part of the immune system, antibodies to the virus.
Okay.
And they can identify, oh yes, you were exposed to this because you have those antibodies.
Okay, and that would be even though I got the shot, because a lot of people are under the impression that they give it to you. How does that work when they give you the shot?
Yeah, they give you the shot, and it induces a reaction in the body to be able to fight it. But they can tell if you've had the infection by antibodies, and so I think that would be good for you to do that and test it to see if you indeed have had the infection. But as I mentioned earlier, I think whether you've had it, whether you've been exposed, whether you've got the vaccine, I think it's still important to take other measures.
Yes, yes.
So, for example, part of my program that I help people with is the only 3 portals of entry into the body are the eyes, nose, and mouth.
Okay.
And so I have certain sprays and rinses and so forth that I personally do it 3 times a day, thereabouts. And so I know that even though I've had the vaccine, I still take these measures to make sure that I have additional immunity.
Yes.
So mouth rinse, nose spray, and eye spray help me kill any viruses before they get into the body, into the bloodstream. I also do something, have people take zinc and quercetin, because what that does is it helps get the zinc to where the viruses are and kills the viruses.
Okay.
And then on top of that is to build your immune system, like take probiotics with the good bacteria.
Yes, yes.
70% of your immune system is around the gut and the GI system.
Okay.
And so probiotics, good bacteria, probiotics mean for life, good bacteria help your immune system be much stronger. And so things like that, and vitamin D, those kinds of things, vitamin C, are all very helpful in building your immune system, whether you've got the vaccination or not.
Thank you. For everybody just joining in, this People to People with Rodney Grimes. My guest today is Dr. Bob. I am so excited having him in here. We can be able to get some information. I also want to put that out there that if you want to call in and ask the doctor some questions, the number is 703-752-6120. Yes, I have learned it by heart. But yes, one of the things that I've been really, really adamant about, and I'm 61 years old, so a lot of times I've been listening, they said anybody just 60 and over, to be careful, and but what I've been doing is I've always been working on my immune system anyway. I try to make sure I eat properly, try to get proper rest. I had a situation with my intestines, and I know that a lot of times a lot of people don't know, when you are sick, most of the sickness you carry in your stomach. And so, when you're not feeling well, the thing you want to do is you want to be able to flush your system out. And so that's what I do. I make sure that I consistently flush my system, try to do the right things.
Right.
So as far as like the vitamins, And is it anything else? Now, I'm gonna tell you some things that a lot of people are doing, and I've been doing it on regular. We drink hot tea
Mm-hmm.
or hot lemon water
Mm-hmm.
on a daily.
Lemon is always very helpful in
Okay.
water. Most of the beverages I drink are water with lemon in it, and I put other powders like magnesium and that kind of thing. But yes, lemon in water is always very, very helpful to be drinking, and to minimize things like alcohol. And the caffeine has good points and bad points, but green tea is always very good.
Okay.
And so those kind of things are good for people to be drinking. To go back to a point you mentioned, what's interesting, if you think about it, the from the mouth down to elimination from the end is basically outside of the body in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you only really enter the body when you cross the membrane to get into the bloodstream. And so it's important to get proper digestion. It's important to have good probiotics. It's important not to be constipated. And so to have a good, healthy GI system where the nutrients can come in and be digested and absorbed into the system is one of the most healthy ways that you can become healthy and remain healthy.
Yes. And that's what a lot of people with I think that with the pandemic, it kind of was a surprise, a box given to them at their door, say, "Hey, I got a gift for you." And now when they open it up, it's saying, "Surprise, you need to take better care of yourself."
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm. and a lot of people are now being very conscious of what they're doing and things that they're doing as far as like, I always tell people this: what you do to your body is going to come back to you later.
Absolutely. And when you're younger, you're in your 20s and 30s, people have such resistance to illness for the most part, and they don't respect their health.
Yeah.
This is most people. And then it's, as you say, it comes back to haunt you at about 40, 50, 60, and certainly 70 and 80. You really know when you've taken care of yourself or not.
Yes.
And you can't really, if you want optimal health, you don't start when you're 60 or 70.
Right.
So I like to get that message across, even though it isn't well received many times to teenagers and 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds.
Yeah, a lot of young people have the tendency to believe they live in the moment and don't worry about tomorrow, when they don't know that we don't know when is our last day on this earth. We don't know that. But you could be one of the individuals that live a very, very prosperous and long life. And so if you take care of yourself properly, then you'll be comfortable when you get it in the upper age,
yes.
which is very important.
Here's a couple of concepts that are very important along those lines. First of all, illness, chronic illness like cancer or diabetes or MS or irritable bowel, those kind of things, don't happen overnight. They happen over a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And so waiting until you've got cancer, waiting until you've got full-blown diabetes, you really should have been taking care of that 7, 8, 10, 12 years before that to prevent it. Because
Right.
prevention is so much better, so much less expensive, so much healthier than waiting until you have full-blown Alzheimer's or diabetes or cancer. So that's an important point to emphasize, is to take care of yourself and find ways to diagnose or to assess early problems and take care of them. So that's a lot of what I do with people, is we have ways to assess people very early on so we know we can intervene in their illness at week 1, month 1, year 1, rather than 8 or 9 years when they've got full-blown problems.
Right, right. And that's one of the things that I try to tell some of the individuals in my family who are younger. Please pay attention to what you put into your body. Be conscious of who you're around and the things that, how people take care of their body.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's easy for you to get sick. They don't need to just have to be COVID.
Yes.
It could be anything.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, basically, if you consistently keep yourself with the right vitamins and eating the proper foods, when they diagnosed me with borderline diabetes, the doctor was talking about some medication, and I did exactly what you were saying. I had started when they had mentioned it to me. I started changing my diet.
Mm-hmm.
I started watching what I was doing.
Right.
So to do things that was going to prevent me from moving further.
Right. Well, that was kind of a wake-up call for you.
Yes.
And I won't say it was good you had it, but it really kind of woke you up and said, I got to really start to take care of what I'm eating and my physical activity. What's important along those lines is that we are in a world, an environment, in which we're constantly exposed to toxins, whether it's what we put on our skin or eating non-organic food or things like that. We're constantly exposed to microbes, infections, that kind of thing. I see this all the time with my people. We're constantly exposed to stressful situations,
Yes.
like what you're going through.
Right.
It's a stressful situation. All those conspire to create some health problems. And then the big overlay in this is, what are your genetics? Meaning some people, for example, they may have a lot of people in their family who get cancer. So they have the genetics that make them more susceptible. And there's two terms that are very important in genetics. One is called genotype and one is phenotype. Genotype is what are our genes planned for us? What do we inherit our genes? Phenotype is how your genes interact with your environment. So for example, if you have a lot of diabetes in your family and you have a genetic predisposition to diabetes, you better start watching what you're eating and you're exercising and getting good sleep so that that genotype does not express itself.
Right.
So now genetic evaluation is very common, and it's quite easy to say, well, you have these genes, you don't have these genes, or whatever, and you need to take care of yourself, because everybody's different based on their genetics, except for identical twins, and even they have a little bit of difference, but everybody's a little different. So you should know what your genetics have in store for you, so you can be proactive in how you take care of yourself.
That's something that a lot of people have to really, really pay close attention to, and knowing that your family history can kind of help you prepare for, how you need to take care of yourself. It's good that we go to the doctor. Mm-hmm. It's good that we have doctors. Yep. So we thank you and and appreciate you being in the field to help us. Mm-hmm. One of the doctors told me one time, I had expressed to the doctor I had got real ill with a infection in my intestines early part of the year. Really, I was really under the weather, and it was because I had this little fear going to the doctor all the time, and it was more so. I know a lot of men that do that. We feel if we don't know, then it'll go away, which is not a good thing.
No. Problems, for the most part, as you develop chronic problems, they don't go away, male or female, but they don't go away, generally speaking, unless you take some kind of action. And so to just kind of hope and pray that something goes away, that's probably not the best approach to it. And the other factor that is very important that I didn't touch upon is, let me take a step back. The three issues that people can really use to take care of themselves are to be physically active. You can't be healthy if you're not physically active. You need good sleep, which is 7-8 hours, and not waking up all the time and so forth, and getting deep recovery sleep, and that of your diet and nutrition. And so diet and nutrition is just so critical. It's like computers, they say, crap in, crap out. It's the same thing with the body. If you don't put good nutrients into your body, it's not going to give you good health. And to realize that our food system is not set up to be healthy food. It's to be tasty food. It's to sell more food. And the way people should shop is in a grocery store, the periphery is all the good things, the non-processed foods and so forth. The aisles in the middle are all the processed foods. And you should generally avoid those things and get the vegetables and the meats and so
Right.
forth around the periphery.
I like that, and actually, now that you mention that, that is so true. 90% of everything that's in the middle of the store are processed,
Yes.
preservatives, and
Exactly, and they're not giving you nutrients for the most part, no matter how glitzy the packaging is, or how many buzzwords they put on that, and new and improved and fortified and all that
Right.
kind of stuff. It's processed,
Yeah.
and in fact, they say the best foods are the ones that don't have labels on them.
how about that? That'll be the ones that we grow.
Yes, exactly.
That's something that I know a lot of people been really kind of being a little more into now, trying to grow their own vegetables and things, which is a good thing anyway.
Mhm.
But since the pandemic, I know quite a few people that started to really take it very serious.
Yeah. Here's one other little, should we say, little tip or a little gem to understand. The difference between organic and not organic.
Mhm.
Organic is when they grow something and they don't put pesticides and a lot of toxins on the food, like glyphosate, which is Roundup. That's not organic. Organic is when it's just raised without all the pesticides and so forth. Now, people realize that organic foods are more expensive than inorganic foods or not organic foods. But the foods that you should eat organically are things like berries and lettuce and beans and so forth that do not have a hard covering. The things that you can do without being organic are things like bananas and avocados, things that have a real hard coating around them.
Right.
So if you're going to only get if you want to get the organic things and you can't afford it all organic, is get the things that really do need to be organic and you don't have the toxins building up in your body.
So, also, how is it about water? Now, I understand everybody always talk, it is imperative that you drink a lot of water. That plays a big factor in as far as your immune system as well, correct?
Well, you've got to realize that our bodies are 70% water.
Okay.
And so dehydration is one of the biggest problems that people have, and as a population we are generally dehydrated, and especially people who live in arid climates. They say they live in Arizona or something like that, they're going to be even more dehydrated. So people have got to be consciously drinking water. Now the next question is what water or how much, that kind of thing. And I personally tell them to be drinking water all the time because it cleanses the kidneys and refreshes the body and so forth. One of the biggest causes of dementia is dehydration. The brain gets dehydrated very quickly. And so that's an important thing. But you really should have certain filtered water, that kind of thing, because it filters out a lot of the toxins. The water generally coming out of the taps full of chlorine. And the reason that we put chlorine in the municipal water supplies is because it kills bacteria. Well, it kills bacteria, but guess what? The chlorine kills our cells too. And so it's very important to have filtered water. Now, one little deviation, the water that I generally drink, and I don't have any commercial interest in this, is a water called Fiji, F-I-J-I.
Right.
And the reason being is because Fiji has silica in it. And silica is one of the few things that takes out one of the big toxins in our lives, which is aluminum. And so that's a good water to be drinking on a regular basis.
Okay, I know quite a few people that drink that too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something that I'm going to pay close attention to. So the other thing now, besides water, so when you're talking about you building your immune system, so it's important to have good rest,
Mm-hmm.
good eating habits,
And eat the right foods. Yep.
eat the right foods,
And physical activity.
and physical activity.
Now, that varies from person to person. And as I said earlier, that I work with athletes, and I was one, all the way up to very infirm people. And so physical activity varies from person to person. But the idea is to become more and more active, get used to it, because there's so many things, there's so many reasons why physical activity. One is it helps our lymphatic system move around, which is our immune system, part of our immune system, and our detoxification system. The other thing that, and this is a very important concept, that the other reason why physical activity is important, because it helps build things like growth hormone in our bodies, and it helps build, and this is a new concept, it helps with what's called mitogenesis. Mitochondria are the things that produce energy in every one of our cells, the mitochondria. And when you have low energy, low mitochondrial production of energy, that sets you up for all kinds of diseases. You name them, and it sets them up. Fatigue to cancer to arthritis to diabetes and so forth, because if we don't have the mitochondria producing enough energy, it doesn't allow our systems to function at optimal levels. So that's how we age. We don't produce enough energy.
Man, one of my biggest problems that I have, and that is that I don't sleep like I'm supposed to. I have a sleep disorder. I can lay down and it's hard for me to fall asleep, and I can wake up and I still be tired. You know.
Well, sleep is a critical factor, and so here let's go over a couple of things that are important. Sleep, you need to get certain periods during the night. You need to get to deep sleep. Deep sleep is the recovery of the body from the previous day's activities, because when we go through the day, we get assaulted with stress and toxins and that kind of stuff. So the sleep time, let's say 8 hours, is the time when you need to recover. And if you don't get that deep REM sleep, recovery sleep, then you're operating on a deficit the next day. You might be tired.
Right.
So I call it sleep hygiene. And there's a couple of things that can help you. First of all, if you can't fall asleep, that means you're wound up and your part of your nervous system, called the sympathetic nervous system, continues to be revving you up and so forth. So you have to start to wind down toward the end of the day. And there are certain things that can do that without being drugs. One of the neat things that helps people get to sleep is now the new CBD oils, which are very, very good.
Right.
But it's important to stay asleep. Now,
hello, caller. This is People to People.
Good afternoon, Mr. Grimes. How you doing, Sir Rod? This is Troy Smith.
Hey, how you doing, sir? How's everything?
I'm doing fine. I was listening to your show today, and I see that you had the doctor on this evening, and I just had a couple of questions, if you didn't mind, if you had a few minutes to answer, if possible.
Oh, go.
That's why we're here.
Right. That's it. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon. Glad to have you on the show. I have a question for you. I was actually needed to find out some information. How is it possible? I received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and what I wanted to find out is how is it possible for a breakthrough of the COVID-19 or variant thereof, and also how does your immune system get stronger after you're affected by the COVID-19 or the variants?
Yes, your body does develop some immunity to the virus, and in fact, if you do get vaccinated, you can still get the infection. It does give you some immunity, but not total immunity. And so, like we mentioned earlier, it's important to incorporate other things in addition to the vaccination.
Okay. Yeah, and I think my next question would be, is it in fact true that once you are infected with the virus, it just stays with you just like any other virus? However, as you develop the immunity and the strength, based on the vaccines that you do receive, as you age within the next 5 or 10 years, does your immune system weaken, or does this virus weaken your system as you progress in age?
Very good question. Like any infection, let's say chickenpox or any infection, what happens is you have the disease, the illness, and then your body develops the immune response to that, so it keeps it suppressed. And if you keep healthy, that will generally not manifest later on because you've developed the immunity to it. Now, this is a general statement, but as you get older, people's immune systems get weaker, and so many infections come out that had been suppressed by the immune system because your immune system is no longer strong enough. A classic example of that, let's get away from the COVID, but the classic example is people who develop AIDS, which is immune challenge, immune compromise. People who get AIDS don't die of AIDS, they die of some infection and
Right.
some other disease that their immune system is no longer strong enough to fight off.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right, yeah, that's very helpful information. I definitely appreciate that. Is there an opportunity or is there a platform that you actually have yourself that we can reach out to or actually come on for like some general questions, or maybe there's a fact sheet that you offer?
You can go to Dr. Bob at Vital 100, and that's the number 100, vital100wellness.com.
Okay, thanks for that information.
Okay.
I appreciate the time, and I'm definitely following the podcast this evening, so I'll be looking at the information and following. But I definitely appreciate the time, and you supporting People to People, which is a good platform as well, because it definitely allows us to get some awareness out there.
Great.
And to just allow people to know that it's not the virus is not something that you catch because you did something wrong or
No.
you lived wrong. You know.
Right, right.
I just want to let people know not to feel guilty
Not at
for
all.
catching it.
Not at all.
And that's something that we're going to have to make sure we have a program on for the future to let people know that, you know, this virus is no different from chicken pox, from the common cold, or you just slipping up by accident, and you know how you step on the sidewalk and accidentally miss your step. You know, you never know, and it's just the way it is. So sometimes, you know, we just happen to be in a certain place and things happen.
Right, and that's like I tell people is fortunate enough, you know, I'm a healthy guy and try to stay as healthy as possible. But it's just like a dodgeball game. If you all line yourself up and the ball gets thrown, you get hit. It's just that simple.
How about that? That's right.
Okay.
I appreciate you so much for calling in.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, thanks a lot. Have a good night.
So to get back to where we were with sleep, it's important to be able to get to sleep, and there's certain things that can help you get to sleep that aren't drugs. And it's important to stay asleep. Now, a lot of people have problems because they are snoring or they have sleep apnea and they're depriving themselves of oxygen, which the body needs, so it wakes you up. But the most frequent reason why people do not stay asleep and get the benefits of sleep are because.
Hello, it's People to People. How you doing?
Hi. This is Faustine King.
Okay.
Hi, Rodney. How are you?
How you doing?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Bob. I actually have a question in reference to the taking the vaccine.
Go ahead.
Okay. I read on CDC that the fact sheet that it only lasts in your system, the vaccine, for 8 months. So if it only lasts for 8 months, what is the use of taking it?
Well, that is a very good question, and to be honest, there are no answers yet. This is still a very early pandemic, early infection, and they're still trying to research how long do the vaccines last. Should you get a booster? Should you not get a booster? And this is one of the first pandemics that they are developing vaccines while we're in the middle of it. Right. Most of them are, the pandemic is gone and they developed the vaccine and so forth. But things are changing so rapidly that there really isn't a good answer to that. So I can't say it's going to last this long and so forth. And that's why I mentioned to be able to get the other measures, the other things that you're doing in addition to vaccines, with the immune system, with the sprays, with the zinc and the quercetin. Those are all very important to make sure that you really try to prevent whether you get the vaccine or not.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bob. One more question. The mRNA, how long have they been working on this, before they created the different Moderna, how long have they been researching this?
Well, you're right and say this is an mRNA, messenger RNA virus, meaning the genetic material that makes up the virus is an RNA virus. Most or all of the viruses and other microorganisms were DNA viruses, and this is an RNA virus. So again, that's one of the things that creates so much of the unknown, so much we don't understand.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Faustine.
All right.
Did you have another question?
No, thank you so much, Dr. Bob. The information is very informative. And Rodney, thank you for the platform, PTT. Have a good day. Talk with you.
And I appreciate you so much for calling.
You're welcome. Bye.
Okay, and for that guest who was just calling, I apologize, but you can. Oh, okay. I see you back. Call back. Hello, this is People to People. State your name and your question.
Hi, this is Desiree Smith. Hi, Mr. Grimes.
Hey, how you doing, Desi?
I'm doing good. I have a question for Dr. Bob.
Go ahead.
Dr. Bob, I'm just wondering, I know there's a lot of things out there and people are saying a lot of things, but when it pertains to our young ladies, as in young teenage ladies, by getting the vaccine, will that cause them to be sterile?
I'm assuming you're talking about the HPV vaccine.
No, I'm talking about the vaccine for the COVID.
And I apologize again because these are things that they don't have long-term studies on. So at this point, it does not look like that's the issue or that's a problem. But again, they haven't done long-term studies, and that's why many of the answers are taking a long time to come out, because long-term studies are over 2, 3, 4 years. And so they're very early on in the research in this whole virus.
Okay. Well, since you mentioned the HPV, is there any studies of that, of whether young girls that I know signed at the age of 13 that have that vaccine are getting sterile?
I don't know specifically. I have not heard that there is a problem with that vaccine, although vaccines in general introduce some things into the body which aren't the healthiest. Toxins, that kind of stuff. And so we've developed a protocol that helps people mitigate or minimize the downsides to any vaccines. So whether they're HPV or whether they're for the coronavirus, that kind of thing, it's important to understand that there are certain negatives with the virus. And you've got to weigh whether you're going to get it or not. As I said, it's one tool in a whole group of things that can be done.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Good information. Thank you.
All
You're
right.
welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Smith, for calling in and continue to support and stand by for People to People, because we're going to keep bringing that information.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Grimes. Talk with you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
So let's see if we can finish this
Yeah,
thing
think
off
about
about
the
sleep.
sleep.
Okay. So staying asleep is important. And one of the biggest things is people's blood sugar gets very low and the brain wakes them up. So they never get into deep sleep. And there are a number of things that can help you stay asleep. One of which, because their blood sugar goes up and down and up and down. And one of the things to do that is I tell people to take a protein powder in a little bit of water before they go to sleep, and that will keep their blood sugar normal all night long so they don't wake up. And so that's an important thing. Other things that are critical in a good night's sleep is a totally dark room, a room that's not hot, 68 degrees, no noise in it, and what's very important, especially in this day and age, is to take out all the technology out of your bedroom or keep it as far away as you can. That includes computers and TVs and cell phones and so forth, because those are interfering signals that are coming into the bedroom and interfering with your brain signals. So it's very important to have a dark, cool, technology-free, noiseless room when you go to bed.
I heard that a while back, and I really didn't take that really serious. So, because even with the television and the radio and all that stuff turned off, it's still sending.
That's why when you turn TVs on and they go on right away, they're already on, so they're getting a signal, and so it's important just to take all the technology out of the bedroom. In fact, if you really want to get very compulsive about it and you really have problems, find the fuse box that goes to your bedroom and turn it off at night.
Yeah. And that will cut down with all of the frequencies that's moving.
Exactly.
That's something.
Yeah, especially people whose mind is very sensitive to those kinds of electrical frequencies.
It got to be me. Because I'm trying to tell you, sleeping is not one of my best friends.
Try it some night, is to find the fuse box that goes to your bedroom and flip it as flip it off and go right to bed. And get a very dark room, blackout curtains or whatever, and see how much better sleep you get.
That's that's something that I try to tell a lot of people. Is eating is one thing, but that rest is so important, and especially how bad is it with stress? So your stress level when you're talking about trying to work on your immune system.
Well, stress and anxiety and so forth is very the way we deal with anxiety and stress in our lives, the normal stress, is our adrenal glands. Adrenal glands secrete something called cortisol or epinephrine and adrenaline, and what that does is it allows us to deal with the stress at hand. Maybe the example they give is running away from a rabid dog or something like that, okay? But if you have long-term stress, like you're in chronic pain, or you're dealing with a problem that just doesn't seem to be going away, or a very toxic relationship, those kind of things where you've got ongoing stress, when your body is being bathed in those stress hormones, the cortisol, all the time, it ages you so quickly and it wears down your body. It's kind of like if you're in a car and you're in neutral and you're always pushing the gas pedal on.
Right.
And the same in your body. And you've got to be able to calm down at night and eliminate that stress and just say, I'll deal with things tomorrow. And whatever way. Now, there are other ways to deal with stress in life. I love to exercise. Some people do yoga or meditation, or there are a number of ways to decrease stress and anxiety in life. And as I said to you before, one of the most important ways to decrease stress is your communication with people. And many times, instead of saying, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, is sometimes you have to say no.
Come on.
And sometimes you have to say, no, I'm not going to do that, knowing that by taking on that extra activity, it's going to create so much stress and anxiety, it's going to be detrimental to you.
That's one of the things that many people know about me. I don't like to say no. I'm a people pleaser. And my sons, they constantly on me all the time saying, Dad, you can't save the world, you can't save everybody, so sometimes just say no, and it's not going to hurt, to say that. So I've been practicing doing that. Also, I have a life coach that I'm working with now too as well. And she was informing me too. You know, don't look at saying no as a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you say no, it's basically you're looking out for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And saying, hey, okay, yo, if you can't do it, you can't do it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's something I have to work on.
And this is, it's very important you mention your kids too. If you enable your kids and do everything for them, you know, they get a parking ticket, you pay for it, or you know, or they get a B in school, and you go to the teacher and persuade the teacher to give them an A and so forth. That's not giving them the opportunity to learn and to grow from that. And if they say, Dad, can you take care of this? No, that's something you have to take care of and learn and grow.
Yeah, right.
And as a parent, I'm a parent, that's one of the hardest things, because you want to do things for your kids.
Right.
But you know, that doesn't give them the opportunity to learn and grow, and it creates more stress in you
Yes.
to have to go to that teacher to persuade them to give your child an A instead of a B or something of that nature. So don't take away the opportunity for kids and family members and friends to learn and grow from their struggling through something. You struggled through it, let them struggle through it and learn.
Hello, caller. Thanks for calling People to People. Please tell your name and where you're calling from.
This is Rachel Pope. I'm calling from Chicago on my way to D.C.
How you
I don't
doing?
know if I'm going to get dropped, but I'm going to make it work. I have several questions for the doctor. I know he was talking about the frequencies and everything, and I wanted to know his opinion concerned about grounding. Because they have this device now that you can ground your bed while you sleep, and I want to know what do you think about that.
Well, what's very important before I mention about grounding is to realize that human beings are not only physical, but we're also energetic. And the best energy that you can have in your body is the energy from the earth. Now, that means that, for instance, if you go for a walk and you can walk in your bare feet, if you can go to the beach and walk in the sand, that's great energy to have. And what grounding devices do, and there's a number of them, you can attach it to your bed and bring it to the earth somehow out the window and put it in the ground a little bit, and that gives you the healing earth energy.
Yes.
So very important. And what's interesting, the contraindication or the opposing energy is all the EMFs, the electromagnetic frequencies we're getting from cell phone towers and all that. And this whole thing about 5G, very, very unhealthy. And so if you can ground yourself in your bed and, you know, do some walks in the garden in your bare feet or whatever, that's very, very healing, as opposed to all the EMFs that we're exposed to in life. And in working with patients and clients, many times I see come up that they're highly affected by EMFs. And so what I do is I will get a device for them to be able to wear or to put in their bedroom or whatever to take out those noxious energies. So
Exactly.
hopefully that helps.
I want to tackle right now. So as I use the cell phone, it truly works. But I want to have people to know about that, and I appreciate you expounding pertaining to the importance of that. My next question is pertaining to the vaccine, but dealing with blood. Like when you go and to the blood bank and do that change, because the American Red Cross had did some type of story pertaining. At first they said that we're not going to accept the blood for those that were vaccinated, and then they changed their mind. So do you think that's going to be effective, or what's your opinion about that? Because I haven't heard anybody expound on this pertaining to blood transfusion for people who don't have the vaccine and get the blood from someone that does.
Well, to answer your question again, there's a lot of unknown, and we get into a lot of the political issues with the vaccines and blood, you know, donating blood and so forth. And you'll notice what happens is the policy changes weekly, monthly, and so there is no answer to that. Pretty soon they're gonna, everybody that's infected or had the vaccine cannot donate blood. They're gonna no longer have blood donors, and so the policies change so quickly that it's hard to say, well, this is the way it should be done. So I'm sorry, I don't have really an opinion on that. I don't know enough of the microbiology of that.
Well, that's what I've been thinking about so hardly is about that. And I was going to call them to see if they doing anything pertaining to separating and or tagging people or carding people that has that blood type with Pfizer, Moderna, blood, that type of thing. Because it is true something to think about. I want people to be thinking like I am, ask questions.
Well,
I appreciate you.
there's still a lot of answers to be gotten and a lot of research.
Yes. Thank you, Rodney, for having this platform and inviting the doctor on the air.
For sure, and I'm gonna make sure that we have the doctor come back, because I know it's a lot more questions and things that people want to ask, but also some things that he can share with us that's going to help us. And you need to be careful and make your way back to the DMV.
Oh, I got my own private room. I feel so good. I'll be right there tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Have a good evening.
Be safe, y'all. Thank you.
All right. Hello, caller. How you doing? This is People to People.
Hello, people to people, power to power, positive thinking people. This is Ashika. I have a question for the doctor. Okay, is he listening? Because I can't see live. I only can hear myself.
Okay,
We're here.
We here.
Okay, I have two. It's one question, two parts. It's about headaches and high blood pressure. And I wanted to know how the two correlate together and how the atmosphere affects headaches and blood pressure. I just heard a young lady call about grounding, and you talked about the electromagnetic field. I wanted to know if you could pull that all in and tell me how all of that correlates to headaches and blood pressure, and how we can take advantage of grounding in order to lower blood pressure and lessen the effect of headaches. For people who suffer with migraines and headaches.
Very good question, a very broad question, and there are many, many things. I could list 100 things that cause headaches, and so to say it's just blood pressure causes headaches, that's not correct. It can be how your jaws come together. It can be lack of oxygen at night, snoring. It could be toxins. It could be allergies. It could be many things. Now, blood pressure, high blood pressure, is when the heart has to pump harder, and that can be a source of headaches, but one of many. Blood pressure also, if it's too low, you don't get enough blood pumped to the brain or the hands or the feet. And so that's a problem as well. And one of the things as far as high blood pressure is to get it into a normal range, because high blood pressure means your heart is having to pump very, very hard to do the same thing that a person with normal blood pressure is doing. Mm-hmm. And so one of the big things that I tell people and look at, one of the biggest causes of high blood pressure is lack of magnesium. Magnesium causes dilation or expanding of the blood vessels, so the heart doesn't have to pump as hard. So I would say at least 2/3 of the population is magnesium deficient. So magnesium is one of the things that's very important. And if you can find a source of something called nitric oxide, that helps dilate the blood vessels too.
Nitric oxide comes in a powder form or capsule?
It can come in a capsule. It can come in liquid form. I take mine in a liquid form, and it's nitric oxide, not nitrous oxide, which is laughing gas for the dentist. But
No, I said nitric.
okay, nitric oxide is is a very good thing to be taking to get expansion of the blood vessels, so it doesn't push the heart too hard.
Okay, and in terms of the magnesium, there are 2 different types of magnesium. Which one should we be taking for blood pressure?
There's more than 2, but try magnesium orotate.
I'm sorry?
Magnesium orotate.
Okay,
Magnesium orotate. Okay.
and another one that's good is magnesium gluconate.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, and how are you spelling orotate?
O-R-A-T-A-T-E, and gluconate, G-L-U-C-A-N-A-T-E.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so that was my question as it pertains to headaches and high blood pressure. I wanted to know if there was a correlation between the two, and how could grounding help with blood pressure.
Well, grounding will help you with blood pressure. Okay, grounding helps on many levels.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
That was my only question.
Okay.
Questions, rather.
And thank you for calling in.
No problem.
So, one of the things that I had, and I do this, so periodically I take my shoes off and go stand in the front yard.
Mm-hmm.
I do it, I like to do it early in the morning when the sun rises.
Mm-hmm.
I face the east, and I'll stand there for about 5-10 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and just connect with right there, to get that.
Yep. Grounding, earth grounding is very important.
Well, we got hotlines. Good evening, it's people to people. Please state your name and where you're calling from.
I'm calling from Leslie, Maryland.
Okay, how you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good.
And what's your question?
I just wanted to ask about how exercise, I've heard that exercise can boost your immune system and help fight, keep you from getting, I guess, different diseases, different viruses, and also, help you resist the COVID virus too. Exercise. From exercising, I think it generates more blood cells that help you build up your immune system. I just wanted to ask some questions about that.
Okay. Exercise has many positive benefits. One of which is to get the lymphatic flow, as we talked about, which pulls out toxins, but also the lymphatics are what pull out viruses and so forth. So it's, in that regard, it's very important. What also exercise or physical activity does, it stresses the body, and the body in responding to that stress builds more growth hormone, builds more mitochondria, the energy factories. It helps the body's immune system just get stronger because it's stressed with the exercise, and in response, it really does have a rebound effect to increase the immune system. Now, overtraining, which some people do, I did when I was training at a high level, can weaken your immune system. But just normal training every day, half an hour, 45 minutes is fine, and it will build your immune system to fight off viruses and other infections.
Okay, that gives me some more insight on that, because I've heard of it, and I just wanted to get more details.
There you go. Exercise is important.
All right, that's my only question. Good show.
Okay, thank you for calling, caller.
All right, take care. Bye.
So, my mind is going because some of the things that you've spoken about, I'm already doing. I was trying to tell people about connecting with the earth. When we do natural things, how, it helps benefit our body. That goes back to eating. When you were talking about the design of the grocery store, that everything on the outside is it don't have labels on it pretty much, you know, your
Mhm.
fruits and your meats and things of that nature.
Mhm.
But when we eat the processed food, what we don't realize is that we do a lot of damage to our body.
Mhm.
And what happens is when you also spoke about probiotic, right?
Mhm.
So we put in the positive things in to help our digestive system. That plays a big factor overall, the digestive system.
Oh, absolutely. It's important on many levels, including it breaks up the like, let's say you eat an apple, organic apple,
Mhm.
and you're getting the energy from the Earth's energy from the apple.
Right.
But if you don't digest it, you don't get the nutrients, the breakdown of nutrients. And one of the things that I tell almost everybody who's over 40 years old is that we don't produce enough digestive enzymes and hydrochloric acid to digest the proteins and the fats and the carbohydrates and the fiber and so forth. So I personally recommend it, but I also do it myself. Every meal I take a digestive enzyme to be able to get all the broken down nutrients into my bloodstream where the body can use them. If it doesn't, and it has these undigested particles, the body only builds allergies to those undigested particles.
Could you give out that information on how, if they wanted to follow up with you, you have a website?
To go to Dr. Bob, that's DRBOB, at Vital 100, the number 100, vital100wellness.com. And I would imagine they can get in touch with you, and you can refer them to me as well.
Yes.
So, and I'll be very happy to talk at length about specific issues.
So when you was also, I heard you say a little earlier too, your teeth, and that can play a big factor in a lot of things with people and their health, right?
Well, on a number of levels. One level is that if you're missing teeth and you're not chewing your food to small bits and you're just swallowing large chunks of food, that's going to affect the digestion very much so. But also by stimulating that, it stimulates the brain, and it really provides important energy into the body. And when people have teeth taken out and they don't replace them, that creates some major issues structurally, but also they lack proper digestion.
Okay, that's so important. A lot of people need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember a while back having a conversation, and I don't remember exactly who it was, but we were talking about how you should definitely chew your food to a certain point before you swallow it, so that when it goes down, and that was what you just mentioned about making sure that you chew it enough so that it be able to be broken down in your intestines.
I think a lot of people in this hustle bustle day and age, with fast food and everything like that, they take a big bite, chew it once or twice, and then swallow it. And I'm guilty of that, and I've had to slow down my eating. So it's important. They say you should probably somewhere between 20 and 40 times chew each bite.
Yes.
And that properly mixes saliva with air, which is part of the digestive process.
Right. And for everybody just tuning in, this is People to People with Rodney Grimes, and my guest today is Dr. Bob. This gentleman here have given us a lot of information, and it is a good thing when we have individuals that will come out and just give us some knowledge on how to take care of ourselves. We have a tendency of just neglecting our bodies and thinking that, okay, it is what it is. If you just eat something, drink something, thinking that it should be a specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want to live a long, prosperous, and healthy life, it is so imperative that we, especially young people, you need to pay attention. You need to pay attention to what you're putting in your body, what you're exposing yourself to. Because after you get over 40, 50 years old, I'm telling you, whatever done started, done already started.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's what you said about you was talking about to start doing the prevention things early on.
Yep.
And don't wait till it.
And this is an important concept to understand. The average adult in the U.S. is on 5 prescription medications. Now, most prescription medications, I'm glad we have some of them, but most prescription medications are there to suppress a symptom. So if you get a headache and you take a pain medication, instead of taking care of the cause of the headache, or a cause of the acid reflux, or the cause of whatever it is, then you're just suppressing the symptoms with a drug. And that'll, to quote an expression, that'll come back to bite you in a sense.
Right.
If you're just suppressing symptoms.
Right.
And so it's important, the way I treat myself and my patients is I find the underlying issues and correct them, and the best healer is our own body. So I give it the tools to heal itself rather than
Right.
give it a drug to suppress the symptom.
That's something that in my family, my mom and a lot of my family members know. I'm not one that want to take drugs, and I've never really liked my mind to be altered in any kind of way. And so when I don't feel well, the first thing I do is think about what did I put in my body.
Exactly. And the other factor here is that we as human beings like easy solutions. And if in our own mind we think that just pop this pill and we solve the problem, as opposed to, geez, I've got to go work out. I've got to make sure I get to sleep tonight. I've got to make sure I go and get organic food so I eat organic meals. That takes more energy. It's healthier, but it takes more energy than just say, oh, I'll take that pill. And so not to say that that should never be done, but it's really important to understand, like you say, you've got to take care of your body. You've got to give it the tools and take away the irritants to let the body heal itself.
I think that with technology and where we are with this pandemic, we are in a phase where everybody's going to really start to pay attention a little more than they did before. And it's going to be where we're going to have to be very conscious on how we want to live. And somewhat, and this is going to sound a little crazy, but how we want to die as well. Because you can kind of start to kill yourself by the way you treat yourself.
If you see people who are dying in their 50s and 60s and so forth, that's way too early. And they could have prevented that years before. And so, in my generation, where there was a lot of rock bands and they were just abusing themselves with drugs and so forth, is all these people are dying now in their 50s and 60s and early 70s, and that's way too early. So you really do have to take care of yourself, because your health, the quality of your life, and your longevity is just, there's nothing more important.
And I mean, and it's so funny that a lot of people won't take that very serious until they're in the hospital, and then they be like, it's a little too late, But it's important for many of us out there. I'm telling you, you have to pay attention to what you're doing with your body, what you're putting in it. Get the proper rest, and let me tell you this to a lot of men: don't be afraid of the doctor. Because that was one of my biggest problems. I always had a problem. My wife would tell me, baby, we need to go to the doctor. I say, I'm not going, I can fix it, But one doctor told me when we were sitting in there, I said, I'm a praying man. I pray to God about everything. And she said, let me tell you something. There's nothing wrong with going to God for everything. But God gave you doctors too. So when she told me that, she said, I want you to think about that when you talking about, I'm afraid God gave you doctors too. And that's something for, I think that being a doctor, you have a certain quality about you as a person.
What's very interesting, and you've hit on some very important topics there, is that the biggest consumers of healthcare are women, not only for themselves, but their spouses, their partners, and their children. And so in healthcare, people say market to women because they're the big consumers. But men, healthcare is kind of a soft and smushy type of thing, and men want to appear macho.
Right.
And I'll wait till my arm is falling off or something like that before I go see the doctor, and that's the wrong time to do it. men have to take care of themselves as well. And you know, that's one of the big differences why the age expectancy for women is what, 4, 5, 6 years older than men.
Yeah, yeah.
Because men don't take care of themselves.
Well, you know, one of the things that I can honestly say, and we speak truth, okay? You know what was the problem with a lot of men is they know what they was doing prior to getting sick.
Yes.
See, they don't they don't want to go in there and the doctor say, "Yo, you was smoking or drinking too much, or you shouldn't have did this or whatever." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times when we get sick, a lot of us start thinking, "Man, maybe that's what I did when I was doing blah blah blah." You know, and he don't want to go. They don't want to go into the doctors and ask. And so even with me, I know when I'm not eating right is when I don't feel well.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of times I use that prior to going to the doctor. I say, well, I don't think I really need to go right now because I know I've been putting a lot of garbage in my body.
Yeah. And you know what's important is that a good doctor or a good health practitioner is not going to judge you. You know, if you have been smoking or you have been doing something that you know is not healthy, they're not going to go and say bad man. They're going to say, okay, you really do need to stop this, or you need to start doing this. And so a good person to become your doctor or your health practitioner is one who's not going to be judgmental and is going to say, okay, let's take you from where you are. But if you don't do this and this, if you don't get some sleep, if you don't eat right, this is your destiny. And let the person make up their own mind. I don't judge people when I work with people at all. It's, you know.
I like that. I like that. And matter of fact, I just went to see a doctor the other day. I'm a veteran, and so I went to VA. And to be honest with you, he didn't make me feel good. He made me feel like he was rushing me, that he wasn't really concerned about the information that I wanted to tell him, because I was having a lot of problems with my knees and my back. And I did inform him that I just lost my mother-in-law. He was like, yeah, well, that'll cause you stress in your back, something like that, you know. But I'm like, dude, I'm ex-Marine. I've been I was in the infantry. It's a little more to just, you know, the fact my knees ain't just started hurting last week, you know. I've been having this problem. But my reason for saying that is that he didn't make me feel, you know, he just, I don't know, he made me feel like I was just another one of the numbers.
Yeah.
But that doctor that I told you about that talked to me, I tell you, I can't remember the lady's name, but I'm gonna tell you, she was amazing when she told me, and she kind of just broke it down to me and said, look, stop for a minute. Yo, we go to school and we learn these medicines and these things to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people look at us almost like what you look at as like the prosecutor and the lawyers. You know, you look at the doctors thinking all doctors, all they worried about is putting you on some medicine, blah, blah, blah. But it's not even about that.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the doctors take that interest because they like helping people.
Yeah. And here's a very important, they've done some studies this way, and this struck home when I learned this years ago, is that when you give someone hope, when you are empathetic toward them, then it actually manifests as a stronger immune system in that patient. So showing them hope and caring and empathy and so forth is one of the tools to help somebody heal.
That is so good. That is so good. So, uh-oh. Hello, caller. You call People to People with Rodney Grimes. I got Dr. Bob in the office today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. This is Katrina McMurray Brown.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I ask the doctor a question?
Yes, you may.
All right. Doctor, I would like to ask you, why is it that it's a war between the vaccine and the non-vaccine? That's part one of my question. The second question is why are people who have taken the vaccine dying and the people who have not taken the vaccine dying?
Okay, let me see if I can address the first thing. And there's a lot of political issues involved in the in the anger over vaccine or no vaccine and so forth. And the vaccine, to be very honest, there are good points to it. They've shown that more people get the vaccine, avoid COVID. But there's not some good points with the vaccination. And so the people who are what we call anti-vaxxers are generally looking at one set of issues, and also they don't like to be told they have to do certain things. And the people who are advocating vaccines or are, they're almost forced to get vaccines, these are people that are, they're doing it because they want to prevent it. So a lot of it's what you're looking at, but a lot of it's political.
Right.
And then your second issue was people are getting the infection who have vaccines, apparently less, and there are people who aren't getting them are getting the infections as well. Now, it depends on what you're reading to see who's getting them more, but both parties, vaccinated people and non-vaccinated people, are getting are all getting infected. Apparently, the statistics show that less people are getting infected that do get the vaccination. That's all I can say. But you still have to do the other things in addition to the vaccination.
Exactly. I have one more question, doctor, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I am concerned about the children. Can you tell me why they do not report the children that actually have passed away concerning the vaccine? And also, part B, I know my grandson, he went to school and he got it from the school. And my daughter and the whole household was infected. And then when I went to the school, I'm a school teacher by nature, but I went to the school and I saw them with isolation rooms inside of the school instead of rooms where students will go in to learn.
Yeah, it's a very tough issue, and again, there's a lot of political overlay on this. And again, a lot of people report what validates their beliefs as far as who's dying, who's not dying.
Okay.
I know that a lot of the deaths in adults are underreported. So it's a very tough issue. And again, there's just so much political infusion and media and so forth that kind of they try to validate what their beliefs are.
Mm.
Okay, thank you for that, doctor.
You're welcome.
And thank you for calling, Miss Katrina.
Okay, no problem.
God bless. Well, I tell you, this has been amazing. I know there's so many questions. Before we got a couple more minutes, and I'm gonna let you have the last word. I want to first say thank you for coming on the program,
I'm pleased to come on.
and I would like for you to come back, because that would be, I know there's so many questions, and especially after they watch this program, and people gonna be wanting to know, they're gonna be starting to have other questions, so we wanna make sure that we bring you back.
Right. Well, there's a lot more information, and the more information I can impart to people, and they start to take it to heart, and if I recommend 10 things and they do 3 of them, they're going to be healthier than if they didn't do any of them.
Right.
And so I love to give people information and make lives better. I don't take it personally if they don't do them. That's up to them. But it's important to get the right information to them, and to sift through all what the media is saying, what the politics are doing, and so forth. That's a full-time job, is to see what's right, what's wrong, and to follow the research. That's the important thing. And so I continue to study and continue to try to improve my ability to help others.
We appreciate that, doctor. We appreciate all the doctors out there that are putting their life on the line to help us to be better. And so It's a lot of us out there. You have to start at home, though. You got to start at home. We can't put all the pressure on the doctors because they're human too, so they can catch COVID just like we do. So we got to be careful and make sure that we're doing what we need to do to better our build our immune systems. Also, remember, there's People to People with Rodney Grimes, and also my co-host, Miss Kimmy Kim, on Motivation Monday. We have also Let's Talk About It Wednesday. We got some things coming up. Y'all remember, also I put that Cash App out there. Is the $ RG1960. Yeah, I think that's it. I haven't said it in a while, we got coming up, we want you to also go to YouTube and subscribe. We definitely want you to do that. We're going to be changing coming up in a little bit. We're going to be moving the platforms around because we are really, really looking forward to expanding our information that we're giving out. And so we're going to be moving to some different platforms. I'm just letting y'all know that ahead of time. Doc, I want you to take us out. You got the last couple of minutes. We give you 2 minutes and we out of here.
Well, it was a pleasure coming on, and I always like to help people with information, see if I can clarify things that they may read about or they may hear. And so I think it's important that, as you've stated, as I've stated, that people have to take responsibility for their health. Now, many times it's a misconception to say, well, if I live a healthy life, I don't enjoy life. That's absolutely wrong. You have more energy, you sleep better sex, just everything is important if you take care of yourself. But that takes responsibility and it takes information. And so remember, physical activity, good sleep, eating the right foods, and avoiding some of the very unhealthy foods is what's going to help you maintain your life and a healthy life at that. So I want to thank you, and I look forward to coming back to expanding on many of these topics.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. People to People. Power to Power. Positive thinking people. Y'all have a good evening. All right.
What do you think?
It was good. Excellent.